Welcome to the podcast. Today, we're diving into the critical topic of data rights in decentralized AI. We have our guests from Zero Gravity, Movement Labs, DataHive, and PERK. But real quick, let me go around the table and have everyone introduce themselves. So I'll start with you, Reg. Give a quick introduction into yourself, where you're coming from, and what your role is.
Awesome. Thanks, Jax, for having me. My name is Ray. I'm the founder of DataHive. We're on a mission that's deeply personal to me, and I believe to so many others. You see, in today's digital world, our data is more than just numbers or trends. It's a story of our lives. It's our memories, our interests, our identities, often taken with our consent and used in ways we can't control. I've always been passionate about technology, its potential to empower people, but I also know firsthand the frustration and fear that comes with feeling like you have no control over your own digital footprint. That's why at DataHive, we're working to build a future where people own their data, not companies, where your personal information isn't a commodity to be traded, but an asset you control. So we're leveraging Web3 technologies to create a truly decentralized data asset network where data rights are human rights, and AI is a tool that serves people, not the other way around. We're building a platform that allows individuals and organizations to turn data liabilities into data assets seamlessly and securely. So this is more than a job for me. It's a calling to change the way we think about our digital lives and to give power back to the people. So that's us at DataHive.
Amazing. Now we'll pass it on to Amy. Quick introduction to yourself.
Yes, thanks so much for having me here today. So my name is Amy Bond, and I am one of the co-founders and the CEO of PERK, which is a nonprofit in California. And our focus is on protecting children's rights, parental rights, and medical freedom. And the issue of data privacy comes up quite a bit for us because of the parental rights issues related to school and across the state. So, I'm very passionate as well about this, and am very excited to be here and look forward to our conversation that we're going to have.
Amazing. Now, Ali.
Hey, everyone. My name's Ali. I am a strategy lead at Movement Labs. So for those of you who don't know, Movement Labs, we're building the first Move EVM rollup on Ethereum, and we're really kind of bringing smart contract security via formal verification as well as parallelization through the block STM. And prior to this, I was at Reciprocal Ventures, where I was focusing on a lot of investments, and so just really excited to be here and chat about kind of the AI data space.
Yeah, and last but certainly not least, Michael. Quick introduction to yourself.
Yeah, nice to be here. Co-founder and CEO of Zero Gravity Labs, or Zero G for short. We are the fastest modular AI chain, which basically means that we enable fully on-chain AI by essentially building the data layer and data infrastructure first to enable that. So, for example, you need to have a fully decentralized storage system, which we call Zero G storage, that's enabled for basically fast AI workloads, very fast data retrieval and ingestion rates. On top of that, we built a data availability system that has throughputs of up to 50 gigabytes per second per consensus layer, and eventually infinitely scalable, so that any modern application that you see in a Web2 context can then be built in a Web3 context. And it just so happens that AI is kind of the extreme use case there. And then finally, we're also pushing forward with a decentralized serving layer so that we can then also enable things like decentralized inference, verifiable inference, fine-tuning, and so on in the future. Excited to be here.
Absolutely. Well, we're excited everyone is here today. So today we're going to be talking about data rights and privacy. And in the Web2 ecosystem, it's extremely difficult to ensure these types of things. But in Web3, it might be even worse because privacy is virtually non-existent with so much public and transparency by default. So in the words of Vitalik, privacy for users is crucial for Ethereum's future. And even after the amazing technologies of Web3 that we all know and love, and all of the amazing data privacy regulations, users still don't have full ownership of their data. So we see mass surveillance moving into hyperspeed with the development of AI. These AI models, unfortunately, are being trained on a lot of data, including pictures, voices, likes, behaviors, patterns, and so much more. And even worse, from our children who don't fully comprehend mass data collection. So these profiles of AI models, they're going to be built on our children's data, and the future implications of this really remains to be unseen. So if the past is any evidence of what we're moving towards, we see kind of an erosion of privacy, and it's getting us into a very scary place. So with that in mind, Amy, data privacy is becoming a massive issue in both Web 2 and Web 3. And with the increasing development of AI and its implications, especially concerning children's privacies, what are your thoughts on the current state of data privacy and the importance of protecting biometric and voice data of our children?
Oh, thank you for asking that. Really, in the space of children, this is often where they beta test a lot of these kinds of technologies. So we've seen locally, all throughout the state of California, how they've tried to actually do mass surveillance programs at the school. And when they do that, they've rolled out these kinds of forms and things that remove the consent of parents, removed their privacy rights, and removed their legal rights in order for them to do these kind of mass surveillancing. So I think the condition of what's happening, there's not enough guardrails in place to protect people's biometrics as well as to protect children. And the other thing that we're seeing too is really, at schools, all of the technology is increasing, right? So kids have increased access to computers and Zoom and all of these things with their phones that are being utilized, but without safety mechanisms in place to protect children's identity, to protect their privacy. And then the other thing that we're seeing too is, and this is something I'm very concerned about, is just there's really not opt-out options. So a lot of times the opt-out, there's not opt-out options that are either that we're aware of or that are accessible. And then for parents, they don't know how the data may be being stored or how it's being shared, or even how to access it if their, kids' information or identity is being stored somewhere. So I think all of those things are an issue. And we're very concerned about it. And especially where parents are not even giving consent for kids, information to be shared. And how far is that going? We don't know. I think that's also a huge concern. So there are a lot of issues around that. I think that biometrics in general is a problem too, where, we need safety and solutions to be able to own our biometrics. And I think we can all agree that there's an increase of, our biometrics being used to identify people. And with that also comes a lot of problems, which include potentially targeting, discriminating people, removing maybe access to education, or people maybe can't access jobs, or they don't get a job because their identity and information is being taken without them being aware. So I don't think the issue at all is small. I think it's quite large. And so I really appreciate the conversation and what we can do about that. So those are some of my thoughts about kids.
Yeah, absolutely. And for people that are unfamiliar with the situation, could you provide some ground level insights on what's happening in schools to legislation in this space?
Yes. I can speak for California. So in California, they did introduce a law that was supposed to protect people's privacy just kind of in general, but what it lacked was it didn't have specifics related to biometrics. So it was just more general privacy, general privacy protection, but there's no actual biometric protection specific to biometrics in California for kids, for schools, or for any legislation period across the state. So we're definitely lacking with that. There's no guardrails, there's no real regulation around it. And then also what we're seeing with the kids at school and across the state is that, they're introducing things like smartwatches, as well as, at one point during the lockdown, they tried to have kids come in and out of school using their phones as a digital pass to be able to enter school. Well, I think that is very problematic because it creates really a situation where, again, parents are not aware or involved, and the privacy issues are just enormous. The other thing that we're seeing in one school district in the state is they actually created a whole genomic surveillancing program with testing and more. And that included kids' DNA with testing samples going who knows where. And again, parents had to give up their privacy rights in order to consent for the kids to go back to school in exchange for no privacy, no legal recourse, And I just, that's really what's going on. And I think it's just so concerning at all levels related to parents and kids and school. And so we're trying to actually bring forward good legislation and working with great groups to identify how we can protect privacy rights, parents, schools, and make sure that both at the state level with policies, that those those guardrails are in place, because I think moving forward, that is one of the solutions to help make sure privacy is protected at all levels, especially with the increase of AI, biometrics being used everywhere, and that's increasing.
Absolutely. And Ray, building on Amy's insights, can you walk us through how the current surveillance-based data economy operates, the structure of the data economics, and the trends you're generally seeing in the industry?
Yeah, it's quite a topic there. So the whole surveillance-based data economy, as it stands today, is built on a model where our personal information is continuously collected, often without our explicit consent or even awareness. It's like a hidden marketplace where our data, our behaviors, preferences, interactions are the products being bought and sold. One of the most concerning aspects of the surveillance-based data economy is how our personal data is being used to train large language models, these AI models, without our explicit consent. These models, which power everything from virtual assistants to recommendation systems, rely heavily on vast amounts of data, data harvestation from across the internet. This data includes our social media posts, emails, chats, so much more. I can't even list it. This data, which essentially is our digital footprint, is used to improve the accuracy and performance of these models. However, the troubling part is that most of us never agree to have our private conversations or photos or personal information fed into these systems. There's a fundamental lack of transparency and consent in how this data is collected and utilized. We're often left in the dark about how our digital lives are being mined and monetized for purposes we might not even support or understand. What's even more concerning is the impact this has on vulnerable groups, particularly children. Kids today are growing up in a digital world where they're constantly connected, often sharing personal information without a full understanding of the long-term implications. Their digital footprints are being created before they even have the capacity to consent or understand the concept of full privacy. This not only puts them at risk today, but could have a significant repercussions as they grow older. Imagine a world where every photo, every moment, every third made by a child today could influence the opportunities they have as adults, where decisions made by algorithms about their education, employment, or even their financial stability are based on data collected when they were too young to understand what they were sharing. And this is not just about privacy. It's about the right to grow and change without eternally bound by your digital past. At DataHive, we believe in creating a future where data rights are human rights and where everyone, regardless of age, has control over their digital identity. So we're developing technologies that not only protect your data, but also give you the power to decide how it's used. We envision a world where the data economy is transparent, where people are informed and have the autonomy to make decisions about their personal information. This shift isn't just about technology, it's about safeguarding the next generation and ensuring that they can navigate the digital world safely and fairly. It's about building a foundation for a future where everyone's data is treated with the respect it deserves, and where children can grow up free from the shadows of a digital past they didn't choose. Now, if we examine the economics of this surveillance-based data economy, kind of building on your second part of the question there, the insights extracted from our personal information are incredibly valuable, particularly for targeted ads. this is one of the primary revenue streams driving this entire model. The graphic you just your screen sharing, every time I see it, it kind of just blows my mind. So the economics and layers of the surveillance-based data economy are all geared towards more and more unconsented data collection. If we look at that chart that you're sharing, on the very left side of the graphic are advertisers, and on the very right side are the companies or websites you might be visiting. And in between are the middlemen that are doing everything they can for user surveillance and profiling. And none of them, and none of this we ever consented for, we as individuals. And get this, for every $1 advertisers spend on an ad campaign, anywhere from 50 to 70%, so that's 50 to 70% goes towards these middlemen to fund their user surveillance activities. And this is a $1 trillion industry, which is only rapidly growing. And on the other hand, companies aren't safeguarding our data. Cybercrime is projected to cost the world $10 trillion annually by next year. So we're about 6 months away. So that cost just it's increasing. And the market is evolving towards a model where brands and users establish direct consented data relationship, removing the reliance on these traditional data supply chain middlemen. So this shift is happening thanks to these global data privacy regulations. But what's missing is a platform that facilitates a seamless, mutually beneficial value exchange between users and brands. At DataHive, we're at the forefront of this shift, and we're building towards an ecosystem where data rights are prioritized and the value of data is returned to the rightful owners, the individuals themselves. This isn't just a trend, it's a movement towards a more equitable and transparent digital world, one where the surveillance-based model of today become a thing of the past.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ray. And now it sounds like consent is essential, and I think we can all agree on that. But how do we quantify it? Does it have a specific value? Is there some kind of monetary figure we can put on it?
Yeah, so we spent a lot of time trying to figure out how do we actually put value on consent. And then in 2022, something interesting happened. There was a kind of a break in the matrix, if you will. So Apple made a groundbreaking move by introducing the App Tracking Transparency feature, also called ATT. So this feature marked a significant shift in how data privacy is managed by requiring companies to obtain explicit consent from users before tracking their activities across apps and websites within the Apple ecosystem. It was a direct challenge to the established norms of the surveillance-based data economy, which had long relied on the silent collection and monetization of personal data without the user's informed consent. So let's dig in though. Let's look at the numbers themselves. So in North America alone, there's about 141 million iPhone users. Again, this is 2022, so the numbers are probably higher now. But in 2022, there were 141 million iPhone users. And when Apple introduced this ATT feature, about 50% of these users, so about 70 million people, chose to opt in to this feature, effectively declining to be tracked. This is kind of like the Thanos finger snap moment. But in this case, 50% of unconsented data collection disappeared overnight. I mean, that's crazy, blows my mind. So again, this decision meant that data would no longer be collected and used for targeted ads or any other purposes without explicit permission, without the user's explicit permission. So this shift in user behavior signaled a really powerful stance on privacy and data rights, demonstrating awareness and concern about how personal information is handled in this digital age. So this, the impact of the shift, so if we kind of go a couple layers deeper into these numbers, so the impact of the shift was particularly felt by companies heavily reliant on targeted ads for their revenue, such as Facebook. So the introduction of ATT, this feature by Apple, led to a staggering $242 billion loss in Facebook's market value, which included a $232 billion in stock value and a $10 billion decline in sales. So North America contributes about 45% of Facebook's total revenue, which accounts for about $121 billion loss. So this loss illustrates the profound effect that consumer choices can have on business models that are dependent on data extraction. So each user's decision to revoke consent to tracking was estimated to be worth about $1,728. So this figure underscores how highly the market values personal data and privacy. It also highlights the economic power that individuals hold when they are given a clear, easy choice about their data privacy. By simply opting out of tracking with a single click, users were able to assert control over their digital lives without needing any financial incentives. This action not only disrupted the revenue models of companies that had become accustomed to unfettered access to user data, but it also set a precedent for how data privacy could be approached moving forward. The collective decision of these 70 million iPhone users to enable AT&T represents kind of it's a significant shift in the data economy. It also shows that when individuals exercise their data privacy rights, they can force companies to reconsider their data collection practices if enough users choose to protect their privacy, they can make the surveillance-based data economy unprofitable. I mean, we simply just got to exercise our rights, and as our data disappears, data brokers essentially go out of business. So this collective action could lead to a new era where data privacy is the norm and the economic incentives for invasive data practices are significantly reduced.
So as we talk about data assets and how they grow in value, let's talk about some of how they grow in value and some of the utilities of these assets themselves.
For sure. Yeah, that's an awesome question. And to kind of build on what we've discussed, let's first talk about the immense opportunities that arise when users are given ownership of data, their on-chain and off-chain data. This concept is transformative and has the potential to revolutionize various industries, including decentralized commerce, which is missing predominantly in the Web3 sphere, DeFi, on-chain gaming, and beyond. So first, let's consider the impact of user data ownership on decentralized commerce. When individuals have ownership of their data, both on-chain and off-chain data, they can participate more actively and equitably in digital marketplaces. For example, in decentralized commerce ecosystems, users could have control over their purchasing data, reviews, preferences, interactions. They could choose to share this data with brands and retailers in exchange for personalized offers or even direct compensation. This not only creates a more personalized shopping experience, but also aligns with the ethos of a fairer, user-centric economy where consumers are rewarded for their data. And in the world of DeFi, if we kind of shift gears here a bit, so in the world of DeFi, user-owned data can significantly enhance financial inclusion and innovation. So imagine a scenario where individuals have control over their financial history, their credit scores, and other relevant data, and they could seamlessly provide this information to DeFi platforms to access loans, insurance, investment opportunities without needing to go through traditional gatekeepers like banks or credit agencies. So by having ownership of their data, users could potentially unlock better terms, conditions based on more accurate representation of their financial behavior and history. So this could democratize access to financial services, making them more transparent, fair, accessible to everyone. And if we talk about on-chain gaming, it's another area where user data ownership can drive significant value. So in on-chain gaming environments, players could own their in-game data assets, achievements, progress, all records on the blockchain. This means they can freely trade, sell, or leverage these data data assets across different games and platforms. But moreover, when players control their gaming data, they could potentially monetize their gameplay experiences, their data in entirely new ways, creating a vibrant, player-driven economy that extends beyond the boundaries of any single game. They could not only increase engagement, but also foster innovation, as game developers would need to create more compelling experiences to attract and retain players who not now have the freedom, the players now have freedom and choices, and kind of and this also goes beyond any particular industry as well. The broader opportunity lies in creating a new paradigm for how data is used and valued across the digital economy. So by giving users control over their on-chain and off-chain data, we can move towards a more decentralized internet where data is no longer a commodity owned by a few large corporations, but a valuable asset owned by individuals who generate it. This shift could unlock a whole new business models and applications that we can't even fully envision yet, where these personalized AI services, these new models could build everything from personalized AI services to community-driven platforms that prioritize user interest. And what's currently missing from all of this is the infrastructure and tools that make this vision a reality. We need a robust protocol for data interoperability, privacy-preserving technologies that ensure data is used ethically and securely, and user-friendly interfaces that empower individuals to manage their data assets effectively. So at DataHive, we're dedicated to kind of building this foundation, aiming to enable a future where everyone can benefit from the true value of their data. So by aligning data ownership and user empowerment, we open a door to an era of unprecedented innovation, inclusivity, where digital economy works for everyone, not just the privileged few.
Absolutely. And let's talk a little bit about, you mentioned infrastructure. So talk about how DataHive's partnerships with Zero Gravity and Movement Labs are driving this forward. And then we'll have, Ali and Michael talk.
Yeah. So our partnerships with Zero G and Movement Labs are crucial to advancing DataHive's mission of decentralized data ownership and creating a more equitable digital ecosystem. So let me kind of break down how each of these partnerships are accelerating our vision. So we'll start with Zero G. Our collaboration is focused on enabling a user-owned AI powered by user-owned data. At DataHive, we believe that individuals should have full control over their data and their ability to benefit from it. With Zero G, we're building a platform where users can securely store their data in a decentralized network away from centralized entities that typically exploit this information without consent. So this decentralized storage is not only enhancing data privacy and security, but also lays the groundwork for a new kind of AI, one that's powered by user-owned data. Instead of our AI models being trained on data collected without users' knowledge or consent, Zero G's infrastructure allows us to train AI in a way that respects data ownership. This means AI models are developed and deployed on a decentralized network using data that's controlled by the users themselves. And it's really a transformative approach where users maintain ownership of their data and can decide how it's used. And imagine a scenario where your personal health data, your purchasing habits, or even your online interactions are used to train an AI model, but only if you grant permission. And in return, you receive a share of the benefits, where that's in the form of tokens, better services, rewards, payments, incentives. This is what we mean by a user-owned AI powered by user-owned data. It empowers individuals, respects privacy, creates a new value exchange where users benefit directly from their data. And with Movement Labs, we're creating a platform that not only stores data securely, but also brings it into the on-chain world where it can be utilized in data in DApps. This is particularly important for DeFi, on-chain gaming, and digital identity management. So, for instance, users could use their on-chain and off-chain data to access financial services like loans or insurance based on their own historical data and preferences, all while keeping their personal information private and secure. Yeah.
Absolutely. Now we'll bring in our friend Ali. Ali, with AI increasingly, integrating with the blockchain, how do you see Movement Labs and Move Protocol playing a role in this decentralized AI application future?
Yeah, for sure. And there's a few different categories that we see kind of how move plays into this kind of AI space. I think the first one is really our secure execution environment. So the Move language itself, it has a very strong ownership model. It also has like an explicit resource model, which is really ideal for decentralized AI applications, especially when it comes to data integrity and where it can be used. So I think one is that's one of the core features of the Move language itself. I think the second thing that comes from kind of the movement chain, as well as basically the scalability and performance of our chain. So the movement chain offers high throughput and low latency. And I think because of this, especially when it comes to AI operations, the second order effects of having high throughput and low latency is that these AI applications, they're enabled to do real-time processing as well as decentralized decision making. So I think those are very critical for anything that when we talked about decentralized AI. I would say the third category that where movement shines is, like kind of what Ray was saying is that, we think about the world in a very like interoperable way. And so one of the things we're focusing on is like, how do we get blockchains to work together? How do we also get AI platforms to work together? And I think allowing like different AI applications to work with DApps and DApps to work with AI applications and kind of this mix of like getting different parties to kind of collaborate. I think it makes it like very powerful, right? These AI models can now get like kind of they can get basically diverse data sets and use that to kind of train their models, right? Which makes it more robust. So I think that's like the third category. And I did want to comment as well on kind of one final thing is it is funny and it's very timely. Naval on Tuesday tweeted about, he's the currency of the AI. And I think, this really aligns with our vision at Movement Labs. And, we see crypto as basically a way to like financially incentivize the mechanisms for decentralized AI applications or even models, where I think the users can be compensated not only for their own data, but also for their data contributions. And the other cool thing about this is also that with AI operations, when you put it on a blockchain, it can be seen transparently, it can be audited, it can be governed. So you have all these other things that are coming out of it as well. And so that's where I think it was really cool to see that tweet, especially right before this podcast, because it kind of sets the context of how closely crypto and AI are like very complementary to each other.
It could be the currency of AI. Do you have any response to that? Any thoughts on this like AI cryptocurrency future?
Actually, I do. We did a lot of research into digital IDs and also the connection between cryptocurrency and wearable devices. And there's actually a patent out there that connects cryptocurrency with wearable devices that tracks your biometrics. And somehow that is all connected back to your ability to buy or not buy goods. So I mean, overall, my biggest concern about something like that is if there's an ability to shut off our rights and our access to just the basic commodities that we have around us using our biometrics and placing it into cryptocurrency or wearable devices, I think it's something that we should all be very concerned about and be paying attention to. And really with the information age that we're in, the digital age, there's a lot of talk about digital IDs as well. So I know that's not as much something that we're touching on right now, but with cryptocurrency, it makes me think about how significant that could be connected to digital IDs, which could be connected to every aspect of our life, from voting to food, to banking, and all of that as well. So I think it's something that I'm actually so super excited about this conversation, because I think what Ray, DataHive, what everybody's doing here is bringing forward solutions that maybe can really solve the bigger problems at hand, which impacts all of our rights and our access to everything potentially. So those are some of my thoughts. I don't know. Did you guys know that there's a patent out there that connects cryptocurrency to wearable devices? Is that just me?
I did not know that. That's pretty cool. I'll look into this.
I'll send it all to you. It's actually, it was, I believe it was through Microsoft. So
of all the companies, huh?
Out of all the companies. And I think it impacts kids too. So, if everyone's wearing these wearable devices, then what is the purpose of having some kind of patent related to cryptocurrency and wearable devices, which is connected to biometrics, right? So, I mean, for me, when I see a pattern on anything like that, I really pay attention to it. And then you see, I don't know if you guys ever watched like what's going on with the World Economic Forum, but at a global level, they're talking about biohacking and cryptocurrency and digital IDs, and that this is the age that we're heading into. So if that's the case at the global level, that they're having these kinds of big conversations, then exactly what you guys are talking about, and what we're talking about at PERK with the privacy issues with parents and consent and all that, the solutions definitely need to be brought forward, to help make sure that all of our rights don't get shut off based on whatever's connected to cryptocurrency, as well as our biometrics.
Absolutely. And we'll pass it over to Michael to respond to Naval's quote as cryptocurrency could be the currency with which AI operates. I'm obviously paraphrasing that. I'm sure Naval put it much more eloquently, but Michael, we'll have you respond to that as well.
I mean, first of all, I think it's a great recognition of what blockchains are able to do for the AI space. And so I think front and center is really that notion. And it's not being paid enough attention from the centralized AI community. I think the centralized AI community is much more focused on how do we get to AGI? But as part of that, we should be asking the question of what does enlightened AI look like? Because do we want to live in a world where there's a handful of companies that essentially can control all of commerce with agents essentially automating a lot of things for us, and then those agents then running amok and not being fully aligned with human interests? And so cryptocurrencies is one subset of blockchain technology. And so I think they certainly have a role to play, but more than that, it's really the blockchain technology itself that'll enable lots of use cases for AI that weren't possible beforehand. So examples of this would be provenance, for example. If you ask OpenAI today, where did you get all your data from? They'll be like, well, we don't really know, because they don't want to disclose it. Because most likely it's from a bunch of user-generated content that doesn't belong to OpenAI. And so with provenance and kind of blockchain technology, you can actually see where the data originated from, who did the labeling on that data, who did the cleaning on that data, what were the decisions made in terms of what the censorship, quote unquote, of the data was, then how was the model itself trained, what pieces of data were used, then what version of the model am I actually being served, and is this inference actually coming from the model that I'm expecting it to? And then similarly with agents, you can put certain incentives and disincentives and slashing mechanisms on it so that they behave in a way that we actually expect them to behave, and have specific outcomes associated that are pro-human, pro-life supporting, pro-abundance, versus actually weaponizing some of these technologies. So I think it's foremost just a recognition that blockchain is going to be an extremely important part in the future of AI.
Yeah, and we'll be sticking with Michael here. So looking ahead, what are the next steps for Zero G in advancing this decentralized AI and this data ownership future?
Yeah, one thing that I definitely appreciate about Ray's vision is this whole notion of how do we take data today, this paradigm of data as liability, in transforming that into an asset, into ownership for end users. And so, for example, many companies disabled access to OpenAI because what happens if you have, really top secret strategic plan and all of a sudden OpenAI is training their models on it? And you think that may be a far-fetched future, but if you've heard about the Perplexity case in Forbes, basically Perplexity verbatim copied things from a specific Forbes article and then said it was attributed to Perplexity. So it's very easy to utilize IP that doesn't belong to you. And so that's a huge danger. And then now if you think about it in a blockchain type of context, turning that into an asset means bring your own data and not be afraid that it leaks. So blockchains have an interesting solution to that. So there's ZK proofs, for example, as a technology. And then further down the line, there are things like fully homomorphic encryption, where both the input and the output are encrypted. So what does that mean? You can essentially have encrypted data in front of you and then run processes on top of it and then actually prove something about that particular data. So for example, if the data is completely encrypted and I want to verify whether Ray is a human being, I can now do that. And so there's a lot of really interesting technologies that will support that. Now, specifically in the zero gravity context, we built the data infrastructure to even make all of this possible. Because if you look at Ethereum today, it's got about 80 kilobytes per second in data throughput. Now, if you look at InfiniBand and actually training AI models, you're dealing with 50 to 500 gigabytes per second of throughput. So we're literally a million times off from where we need to be from an on-chain future. And so through Zero G, we're basically bridging that gap from a data infrastructure perspective. Once we have that established, then we can start going further towards the execution layer and enabling things like verifiable inference, verifiable fine-tuning, and then much later down the line, once all the research problems are solved, things like decentralized training as well. And there's many benefits to having that be decentralized, but that's a bit of a roadmap for us.
And then let's talk a little bit real quick, sticking with Michael, in the collaborative efforts. Like, how do you see your collaboration with DataHive and Movement Labs growing over the next few years?
We're super excited to be partnering with both of them. So the Move language, as kind of Ali mentioned, has a lot of benefits, and kind of being partnered both on the data layer and in the future also on the kind of data availability layer will ensure that Movement Labs is able to keep up with the demands of modern applications. So let's take another example outside of AI. So even if you wanted to do on-chain gaming today, you couldn't do it just because if you have something like Fortnite, for example, from Epic Games, imagine having all of that state on chain with hundreds of millions of users. Again, you need a data throughput in the gigabytes per second. And if you have like 80 kilobytes per second, or maybe a megabyte per second, you're very far off from having that infrastructure to even be able to have these modern day applications. So that's one of the things we're excited about, partnering with Movement Labs, and then of course enabling all of the AI features over time that I already mentioned as we bring out our decentralized serving framework and so on. Specifically then with DataHive, really excited about doing things like privacy preserving AI, or really having this notion of how do we as end users really own our data and then have fair rewards distribution for that data. How do we make that data really into an asset that belongs to us and that we can also reap the benefits from? Because today the benefits go either to the AI model company or to the walled garden companies. So for example, Reddit is charging for the API access, or Twitter is charging for the API access. But the funny thing about that is the data is coming from the users that are generating it. And so they're being monetized from the people that are actually generating that data. And so that's always this funny thing to me. So it should be completely reversed. And that's what I'm excited about with the DataHive partnership.
Yeah, and I saw Ali shaking his head in agreement. So Ali, if you have anything to add about the collaboration efforts and how you see it evolving in the next few years, do please jump in.
Yeah, no, for sure. And, just echoing what Michael said, and also similar to what he was saying about DataHive, very excited to be partnering with both Zero G as well as DataHive. And, I think one of the things we're super excited about is just like evolving AI use cases. We're always looking for the next thing, the next kind of exciting opportunity. And one of the jobs for Movement is to like enable developers, right? And so whether that comes from grants, whether it comes from co-marketing, whether it comes from even like helping with like audits and things like that. Like we are here to kind of unblock you so you can focus on what matters. And so I think that's like something that's like very important for us. I think the other cool thing that I see happening, and I think I believe we'll work very closely with teams like Zero G and some other teams, but how do we think about governance and standards for decentralized AI, right? We kind of have to take this by the horn, right? We can't wait for someone else to come in and kind of create standards for us. We kind of have to do it ourselves. And so I'm really excited about that, where, our teams, like we collaborate together to understand, like, how do we define how these models should be run? Like who gets access to them, things like that. What are the standards that should be in place for some of these data AI applications and things like that? So I think, data ownership, user rights, all like really fascinating. And I do think, especially with the blockchain world, like we've had DAOs in the past, and we've seen how they work and how they operate. And so, how can we take the best learnings from those DAO operations and kind of apply them to like this new kind of model with AI and crypto? So yeah, really excited on that as well.
Yeah, definitely a very exciting future. And I want to thank you all for joining on this. For people that don't know, that we're recording this on a late Friday night, so this insightful discussion on decentralized AI and data rights. And, it's clear that you all are laying the groundwork for a more secure and equitable data future. So for our listeners who want to dive deep into each of these topics, I'll go quickly around to ask the guests where you can connect with them online. I'll invite everyone to shout out their social media and their website, starting first with Ray.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. You can find me on Twitter. My handle's I am Ray Gill, easy, or our website at datahive.network. So always happy to connect about the future of data, AI, and this movement. Thank you.
Perfect. And we'll pass it over to Amy.
Yeah, so the way you can connect with us at PERK, social media, Twitter, Instagram, it's PERK_group. So PERK_group, PERK Group. And then on our website, it's www.perk-group.com. We have a ton of resources on there for parental rights and all the things that can help with all those issues that we talked about too, on a parental, parents and kids kind of stuff. So thanks for having me on. This was great. What a great discussion.
Our pleasure. Now on to Ali.
Great. Yeah. And our Twitter, my personal Twitter is Analytical Ali. I'm on Twitter, pretty active. Feel free to shoot me a DM if you have any questions. Happy to always chat. Our team's Twitter is Movement Labs XYZ. Make sure you're following the right account and that it has the yellow check mark. There are a lot of copycats out there, so just be careful. But we have our website. You can connect with us on Twitter. We're on Telegram. We're on Discord. Our team is very, very collaborative, and we do make it an effort to kind of work with everyone, respond as best as we can. And so, we're looking forward to connecting with anyone who's interested in chatting with us.
And Michael?
For Zero G socials, you can just go to zerog.ai. It's a 2-digit domain, very easy to find. And you can connect with us on X and Discord and Telegram. And then personally, I'm very active on X as well. So it's just my first initial M and my last name, Heinrich. So it's HEINRICH. So together it's MHEINRICH on X, and really excited about engaging with anyone that's interested in the topic.
Amazing. Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining. And as always, if the listeners are here, 5 stars, rate, review, subscribe, and shout out people on social media. Go follow all the guests and go explore each of these projects. And until next time, let's keep exploring the future of Web3 and decentralized AI.